This podcast is intended for educational purposes only. For our full disclosure, visit us at nc-midwifery.com and our podcast page. Well, welcome back to More About Birth. We are very excited because we have a special guest in the studio today. Hey, ladies.
Hi, we're back, and we're here with a new scoop on the new birth center in the Tri-Cities, and we have a guest with us today.
Woohoo!
This is Cynthia Flynn. Cynthia was one of my mentors back in the day when I was practicing to become a midwife, so we've known each other for quite a while. And I wanted her to share her story with us about wanting to leave a legacy for the women in this area. Because we had a birth center in the Tri-Cities years ago that Cynthia had started. And it's been quite a few years since that's been around. And I'm going to let her tell the story of how this new one has come about.
The Tri-Cities hasn't had a birth center since 2007. And fast forward to last fall, and the babies are starting to have babies. And so one of the women that I knew who was having her first baby was seeing a practice at Catholic Hospital, midwifery practice that I sort of mentored the leader to start because I had taught her. So when she added midwifery and then started the practice there, she came to me and we had a lot of lunches together and I helped her get that practice started. And it's a great practice. You know, if you need to be at the hospital, it's a wonderful practice. But, and so this former baby of mine had gone to that practice and was very happy with her prenatal care and her labor and delivery care. But afterwards was not as happy with how her baby was treated in the hospital. And so I went to my friend, who was the lead midwife there, and said, gee, you know, this was her experience and it wasn't that great. And what can we do about that? And we were just like brainstorming. Well, we need to do this, do this, do this. And one of the things was we really do need to have another birth center because it wouldn't have happened. Well, it would not have been a problem at the birth center. Nothing. None of that would have happened. And so I started on this project and I just decided, I talked to my husband, I said, look, it needs to be done. I've been talking to the midwives here for years and none of them are doing it. Present company included.
Yep.
And
Someone's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. And so it's a ton of work. So I says, look, I'm just doing it. Started looking for space and, it's interesting. Landlords are not real excited about having all that
babies
plumbing. No, it's the plumbing.
It's the plumbing.
I mean, when you think about a room, it's got a toilet and a sink and a tub and a shower, and it's like a lot of plumbing in their building. and then the rooms are gigantic. They're not like office sized, and so it really like totally redoes their building is like they're thinking, oh my gosh, if this is a brand new business, what if it goes under? And then I'm left with what? Tubs.
This weird setup.
Speaking of, where is this birth center?
It's at 948 Stevens, 200 feet from Cadillac Hospital. I mean, it's right, there's one building between us and the hospital.
Could almost
That's
walk
handy.
there faster than drive.
Well, it's true.
Right across from where we used to go to get ice cream cones.
The
So,
old Tasty Freeze.
yeah, Tasty Freeze was
No,
there.
coffee shop, right?
Not sure.
Anyway, it's right. It's very, very close. We have half the building and to start. And Yeah, it's a great location, all on one floor. Just it's we're really super excited about it. But yeah, we had to go through 3 landlords to get to it, and then this landlord, bless his, I mean, he not only put up the normal landlord amount, for tenant improvements. He's an investor. He invested in the business too. He is committed to making this thing work, which is super exciting. That's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Can we backtrack just a tiny bit? And for our listeners who don't know you, just give us a brief background of your history and like, who are you and why do you even care about birth? And because people probably don't know what you've done.
Oh, well, we don't have that much time.
The nutshell
The
version.
synopsis.
The nutshell version. A lot led up to my going to midwifery school at Yale University at age 47.
Yale. Wow.
And
see, I didn't know that. I love that.
I mean, that's a whole other crazy story. You don't have that much time. But and then there's a whole other crazy story about how I ended up in the Tri-Cities where I knew 0 people straight out of school. And started practice when I was 50.
It's never too late.
Yeah, never too late. And I had been a doula. I was a founding mother of doulas in North America, and they still use my little questionnaire when you're getting certified. You have to hand out, evaluation things. They're
cool.
Still using the exact same form.
Cynthia's totally a birth junkie, just from way back.
Well, that's what I was getting at. Like, you're a midwife. Like, you have, you're not just a person that wanted to start
so
a
you're
birth
like
center.
you're like a part of midwife trivia now.
And eventually, like I say, after I started this birth center, that I got all involved in. I get involved in stuff anyway. I ended up, president of the American Association of Birth Centers, and so I have been to birth centers all over the country. Picked whatever I could from them that that's a neat way to do that. And, all that, and I'm also very involved in advocacy. Trying to make birth centers accessible for women.
So all these great things that you picked and chose from all these other birth centers, are they going to be in our birth center?
Oh, yeah.
So,
I just think it's interesting, too, that we were just talking about how Cynthia's done the whole gamut, hospital, home birth, and birth center birth. So,
and I do consider home birth the gold standard. It is. I think
a lot of people just aren't quite emotionally ready for that, though.
Well, or they don't have the right space, or they're too far away, or, there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't work. And then plus, you've got the midwife spending time driving around instead of taking care of women. And so, it's like inefficient, I guess you'd say. But so the birth center is a place that's really... It's not in the woman's home, and that's important, an important distinction. But other than that, it's like a home birth.
It's home birth at the birth center, yeah.
It is. It's like home birth at my house instead of your house.
Well, we tease people and tell them with home birth, it's like being in a birth center because we carry everything with us that the birth center has. We just haul it all to your house.
Except you don't have a jetted tub.
Well, we have tubs, but no, we don't have any jets. We can get a straw and blow in it. On that note about jetted tubs, tell us what the birth center is going to be like. Like, what's going to be there,
and how big's the jetted tub?
Offer.
It's big enough to move around however you want.
I
counted a woman.
I now want to visit the birth center.
I know.
I mean, I once counted during one contraction, this first time mom changed positions 20 times.
Like a cat on a hot tin roof.
Oh, she's just every
Had a
which
few of
way.
those.
Yeah. Anyway, she got that baby out fast too. So the birth center has a very large, family room with flat screen TV and couches and a kitchenette area and all that. It has an area that you use if you're just coming for prenatal care. So it has, the bathroom, it has 2 large exam rooms, room for your kids and all that. And then it has a midwife kind of workroom that has medications and a microscope and computers and stuff. If you're coming for birth, there's 3 large rooms, like 300 or more square feet. You, of course, have your own potty and your tub and your shower and your bed and all that, and sinks and cabinets and a place to store your stuff. But, I mean, we have 3 birth rooms.
Will they all look alike, or
they all look different, actually.
It's fun.
We have the river room, which will, among other things, have pictures of like the Yakima, the Columbia, and like
cool.
that, and like river rocks around the tub, and like the countertops. I kind of have that look.
fun?
That's cool.
So that's the river room, and then we have the mountain room. Badger, rattlesnake, whatever, pictures. That's like the cave for people who want to go under the front porch and hide from everybody to have their baby. It's dark, dark backsplashes around the tub and countertops,
cool.
and a one wall is practically black. I mean,
That must have been fun to
think about all that.
It's like, it's the smallest. It's just under 300 square feet, but I mean, it's like the cave room. And then we have the bridge room, the blue bridge, the cable bridge, the whatever.
The bridges.
And but anyway, the point is that the rooms will have different feels to them.
How fun.
That's so
where
cool.
We'll let women, say what their preference is. That'll be in their chart, and if we can, we'll accommodate.
Right.
They'll get to pick which one they want to go to.
Now, when they come in
That's fun.
for a birth in labor, will they have a separate entrance that they can come in?
No, they'll come in through the family room, and then the whole birth area is got its own door, and it's separate.
So it's separate from everything else.
Is separate. Yeah.
So you can be doing prenatals
Oh yeah, it's
at
in
the
a
same
whole
time
different
as
area.
people are birthing.
Right.
Great.
It's a whole different
great.
area, and we completely rebuilt the whole thing, so there's soundproofing in the walls. I mean, I don't know how
So
good it's going to be, but
How much total square feet? I mean, you have half that
about
building.
3,800.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so then we have a big utility area, with all that cleaning and all that, and we have a break room for the midwives, and we have another area where we store things like oxygen, nitrous oxide.
Ooh, tell us about the nitrous oxide.
Laughing gas.
Yeah.
Takes the edge off, and it's totally mother controlled. The mom decides.
So for those
much
of you
and-
who don't know what that is a gas like you get when you go to the dentist, and it has been used in labor to help reduce pain and help you relax, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the birth center will offer that to anyone that would like it. Awesome.
That's great.
I'll be
And-
over later today.
I know,
Just
Except staff doesn't get.
I'm just kidding. I know.
Speaking of staff, tell us
Yeah,
about
and then we
that.
also have a big classroom, with a big big screen, and then we can do movies there. We can do group prenatal care. We could have prenatal yoga,
What about breastfeeding support? Is that going to be an ongoing
Oh,
thing?
yeah. Yeah.
Open to the community or just,
either.
yeah?
That's a particular interest of mine. I teach beginning RN students breastfeeding every term as a guest speaker. Teach them how to help moms,
Right.
because most RNs are not really taught how to help. I mean, they're taught about the
mechanics of
anatomy
it,
and
right.
everything
Yeah,
of breastfeeding.
yeah.
That's different than teaching how to teach a
Right.
mom. So anyway, I teach how to teach. And it's a big interest of mine is getting moms off to a good start on
Right.
breastfeeding. Huge, huge interest. So yes, we will definitely have that available.
So moving
That'll be me.
along, I have been very curious about how many midwives will be working there and how many births you'll be doing a month, that kind of thing, and insurance.
Okay, well, we're going to start with basically 2.5 midwives so that we care a lot about the quality of life that midwives have so that they're not like on call all the time. The absolute maximum that the place can hold, as far as I'm concerned, would be 25 births a month would be the max. It'll take us a while to get there, which would be about 4 midwives plus 1 to cover their vacations and admin and things like that. So 5. So it's never going to be, a cast of thousands there. It'll always be small enough so that you're going to know your midwives and who's going to be there and all that. It's not like you're going to have a tour, like a hospital tour or something, because you will be coming there all the time, and you'll know the people there, and it's meant to be a place that feels familiar when you come to have your baby.
How will the insurance work? Is that
we're in the process?
Like
we're in the process of getting credentialed with all the insurance companies, including Medicaid and all that. Until we are credentialed with everything, we are still taking insurance on an out-of-network basis. But as fast as we can, we'll get in network.
And did I hear that you're doing prenatals now?
Yep.
To get ready for births when?
February.
Wow, that's coming up soon.
That's exciting.
And those that actually want to come to us now that are due in February are going to have a lot of prenatal visits real soon because there's a lot of work to do to get ready for a birth center birth.
Yeah.
A lot of education.
Yeah.
And
playing catch up.
Paperwork, and there's a lot of catch up to do. So you'll be having extra visits probably to get it all done.
Along those lines, could you just give an outline for people of what care looks like? Like, how often do they come in, and what does the postpartum care look like?
Well, we typically will do it like you would if you were going to an obstetrician, like every 4 weeks until you get up to 28 weeks, and then you go every 2 weeks, and then every 1 week from 36 weeks on, like that. However, we really tailor that to the woman. So some people who've had babies, particularly babies with us before, it's like they don't need to come that many times.
Can I just come every 5 weeks?
Yeah, or can I, I live down in Pendleton. Can I do some of these telehealth, really? Mm-hmm. So a lot, that's just like the generic thing, but we will be tailoring it to what the woman's needs are, both medically and otherwise. The idea is to personalize the care. Mm-hmm. We're small enough, you're not going to be a number. So that part is pretty much the same. We'll offer the same kind of testing you would get anywhere, and there's very little that we require. I like you to have a 20-week ultrasound. Just make sure the baby's parts are all together.
Will you send those out? Those will be sent out, the ultrasounds, or will you do them in-house?
The anatomy scan, the 20-week one, we will send out. Mm-hmm. But one of our midwives does do limited ultrasound. So, dating, biophysical profiles, all that kind of stuff. We can do those in-house.
What about lab work? Will that be in?
We have to send it to the lab. Yeah, we can draw it and then send it to the lab. Okay. Yeah, like that. So all that part is, you'd be offered the same thing. You'd be offered anywhere. And then you come in, you have the baby.
When would they come in?
When you're in active labor. So somewhere around 5-6 centimeters for a first-time mom. Sooner for if you've had a baby before. Those tend to go a little quicker. So that-ish.
And you've met all of the midwives providing care at this point, so that whoever you get on call, you'll know them.
And one of the things that we're really very committed to keeping an eye on is that although every midwife has a different personality, how they practice is not going to vary at all.
Mm-hmm. Same rules for everybody.
Even what they say, almost. Mm-hmm. Just really the kind of care you're going to get it isn't going to matter who you get, because that's one of the things I'm really committed to is if somebody feels like they'd like to do it different, then let's talk about it, figure it out, and we'll all do it the same. Because I don't want women worrying about who's on call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should feel just fine no matter who's on call.
Now, just to play devil's advocate here, what's going to happen if a mom comes in and ends up with this 30-hour labor? Is she going to start feeling pushed? Like, okay, we got to get this room emptied out, woman. Like, we got to move you through this line so we're walking into the hospital. Like, how does that work?
No, we don't do that. For one, you know, even if we were at 25 births a month, that's still 100 births per room for the year. So basically the room gets 2 days off and 1 day on. I mean, you know, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And, you know, even if it seems like it's going along really long and somebody else comes in, it's really fast and all the things, I mean, we can accommodate somebody in either the family room or one of the exam rooms in early labor if we have to.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening for a long time, if ever.
But if I understand right, families are welcome at the birth.
Oh, yeah. The one thing that we say to people is that do not invite a scaredy cat. Because I have a rule that if anybody at the birth says, I'm nervous, so I want to go, I think she should be at the hospital, we have to go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Even if the mom's okay, I'm okay, the dad's okay, but grandpa isn't, we have to go. And the reason is, if something does happen later, and then grandma says, see, I told you we should have gone, you better sue them. We're just not doing that. We're not doing that. So I do go through all that with new moms and say, look, be careful who you invite. You want people who are going to support you and who understand things and who are going to be part of the team, not just.
Which we've learned that's the same as home births. You want people there that are going to be supporting the process.
Right.
So
and not making things difficult.
Right.
I have a question. How many exam rooms?
2. Yeah.
So you have 3 rooms plus the family room, and then you have the 2 exam rooms.
Yep.
So you have lots of space to handle 25.
Postpartum. So baby's born, everybody's good and happy.
Right. And usually people go home 4 to 6 hours. I'm a firm believer the safest place for a newborn is their own home because the mom has antibodies to everything in that house and will, give them to her baby via breast milk. So that's the safest place for a newborn that's stable, and if she's stable. And then we come and make a 24-hour home visit, check, make sure everything's okay. And then typically, I'm just giving kind of the standard here, is that the couplet would come in at about 3 days, and we would double check them over again. That's usually when her milk is coming in and get all that organized. And then at 2 weeks and 6 weeks, we would see them again.
Okay. So the midwives at the birth center are trained to take care of healthy newborns for that first period. You don't need a pediatrician. All right.
No, typically we recommend that they go to their pediatrician when the baby's about 2 weeks old. After that.
What would happen? What would it look like if you did need to transport to a hospital? Say baby's heart rate was dipping a little. And so what happens then?
Most of the transports from birth centers nationally are not what you call time of the essence thing.
Right.
Like, we have to get there right now or somebody.
Yeah, we always say you can see the train wreck coming, right? There's signs.
You can. Yeah. And it's our job, And so most of the transports are, they could be on the urgent side or maybe not. Maybe just somebody's baby is not in a good position and she really cannot manage the pain and she needs an epidural. She's going to have a vaginal birth. And so there's no big rush. She's fine. The baby's fine. She just needs to be somewhere else. So most of the transports are of that type.
Right.
And in that case, the there is a door outside that next to the birth rooms, and the ambulance can pull right up there. It doesn't have to go through the lobby or anything like that, and it's just right outside the doors to the birth rooms, and then they just go right around the corner to the
Yeah, the good news is
like
that you can
really
almost throw a rock to the hospital from where your birth center is at.
Put them in a rolling chair and just push them there quickly.
A frisbee will go there for sure.
I know.
Well, it's true.
That will be reassuring.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
people
it's just,
to be that close to the
it's
hospital,
right there.
right?
I think people are going to love that option.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if it's not a time of the essence thing, if it's, one of those ordinary things that actually could be taken care of by a hospital midwife,
Mm-hmm.
well, we'll just send them that practice that I was talking about earlier.
There you go.
They will take our transports. And if we do need an obstetrician, they are part of the obstetrician group academy.
Mm-hmm.
So those obstetricians will take care of us.
Sounds like you've got it all covered.
Maybe it's just a guy thing, but I've had this burning question since you said it earlier. How do you have a half a midwife?
She works half time.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just the way my mind works, but which half comes to the birth?
Yeah,
So.
yeah,
You had a question
she works part time
about like VBACs.
Yeah,
things
so
like that.
just for people that are going to be wondering, what kinds of things would risk you out from delivering at the birth center?
Well, some things are a matter of state law. We don't have any choice about it. We can't deliver twins or breeches or people who have had a prior cesarean or uterine surgery at birth centers as of now. So those people automatically. Then people who have serious medical conditions, I had somebody coming to me once. She'd already had a heart valve replaced, and she wanted to have a birth center birth. I said, you're not even a midwife candidate at the hospital, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but, we don't, so people who have, serious medical histories, yeah. And so there are things like that increase the chance that there's going to be a problem anyway. Or we already know that they're going to need medical care, like people who already are diabetic before they ever get pregnant are going to need, we already know they're going to need care at the hospital. So there are people, it's not for everyone. The birth center is for normal, healthy women having normal, or I should say birthing people, not necessarily women, who are having normal pregnancies, boring pregnancies with healthy babies.
Yep.
And we have every reason to think that they can birth their own babies.
I thought of a question. You mentioned tubs in the rooms. Is that just for laboring, or can people deliver in the water?
Oh, they can absolutely deliver in the water. My experience is that's so much nicer. Yeah. Women almost can't help it, especially with those jets on. They just relax. They get in that tub, and it's like a reflex. And they get into this pattern, and we have to turn the jets off to listen to the baby's heartbeat every half hour. And, and they're in a zone kind of like. And when it comes time to have the baby, things just seem to stretch easier, and women are not so frantic. Yeah. Like you see on TV sometimes.
That was a great face.
Really, I'm not saying that it's not intense, because, having a baby is an intense thing, but they're much more in control, frankly, relaxed. They're much more in touch with what's going on. They aren't like losing it. And as a consequence, they're able to ease the baby out more often, and we have fewer tears. Yep. And, it's a lot easier on the midwife, frankly.
Somebody was asking me about water birth the other day at a consult, and I said, well, honestly, there's less mess with water birth because it's like all contained in one spot, so that's a bonus.
There's that besides.
Are you going to offer like tours of the birth center if people are interested?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's not quite finished being constructed yet. So we have a Facebook page, Columbia, after the river, Columbia Birth Center, hyphen Richland.
And we'll put a link on the screen.
Yeah, the old one was Kennewick. And as soon as we get the website up, we'll have that too, ColumbiaBirthCenter.com.
The website for the old birth center is still up, isn't it?
It still is. I mean, if you want to go and see how it was at the old birth center, and we had videos that made usually about 2 hours after the baby was born that have about 3 pixels in them. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, it's old school.
I mean, you can't do it on your phone.
Only this generation would know what pixels are.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, anyway, you could see how it was.
Is there going to be a grand opening or something, like a launch date?
And I wish I could tell you when that is.
It's after Christmas, though, right?
After Christmas.
Yeah.
After New Year's.
After New Year's.
Sometime in January is what I would guess. Well, I mean, I'm doing tours for people now, but
I'm ready. Let's go have a
It's a
tour.
construction site still. I mean, they're doing mudding the walls, painting next week. You know, I mean, it's
fun.
Yeah,
I wanna go
we're
see.
not there yet, but
We would love to bring a camera and do a little behind scenes for you,
that'd
too.
be fun. We do have access to adjacent space. As I said, we have this really great landlord. So we are starting prenatal care in the adjacent space until we can get into the actual space.
Sounds like
That's
you
cool.
guys
Awesome.
are just getting ready to do it.
We're excited.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks for
Yeah.
coming today. Any other questions you guys can think of?
I'm just so excited to see what this is going to add to the community here.
We need this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And just like we were talking earlier about, even if you're not a client necessarily, but being able to utilize some of the services of the birth center, like mom get together groups and the videos where, birth education nights and that
Yeah.
sort of, it's just going to be fun.
That's what I hope. Yeah.
Be great.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks,
And we'll be
Cynthia.
seeing you soon for that tour.
Yeah. Woo woo.
This podcast is intended for educational purposes only. For our full disclosure, visit us at nc-midwifery.com and our podcast page.